genuinely probably the craziest live team reaction we've ever had. Stick around for that.
And Stevens lined him up too. Let there be no mistake about that. Stevens went at him at 100 miles an hour. He got another go. And he grabs him. He's grabbed. Play on for holding the man.
Welcome back to Further North, everybody. Now, Swans time. And when it's Swans time, one of two Swans guests I've had on, Coach Donnie Hess here, very excited, does his own pod, big mega fan over from the States. There's no better Swans insight than this man right here. Donnie, thank you for jumping back on, mate.
No problem. Always love talking. I respect the heck out of what you do. Love the North Melbourne Footy Club. I will honestly admit I barrack for them whenever they're not playing the Swans.
Well, looks like you won't be able to barrack for us this weekend, mate, because we're playing you guys up at the SCG. I'm a little bit terrified for this one. We're going to get into it. But firstly, my first question for you. What was your expectation for the Swans this year, and where do you think they're at right now?
It's crazy because if you'd have told me at the start of the year, pre-Errol Goulden fractured ankle, pre-issues with Tommy Papley, pre-issues of Logan McDonald not being able to come back, I'd have told you top 4, potentially minor premiership, a little bit like last year. As the seasons kind of went on, I've gotten more and more into the reality of like, if we make finals, I am going to thank the lucky stars no matter how far we go, because as much of a cluster, as the season has been for the success that they're starting to kind of find now. It's like, it's weird to think that one player, Errol Goulden, really has changed this team, but it really kind of has. So.
Yeah, look, the Swans, even though there has been a lot of challenges this year, they seem to still... I can understand from a Sydney perspective why it feels like the season's a bit all over the place. But, I mean, even for me, I look at it, new coach, maybe a little bit disappointing in that the start of the season, but they feel like they're getting back on track now and pulling off some really good wins. And even though if they're maybe not the most convincing wins, they're getting the job done. And is it too late to make the finals? I mean, geez, it's going to be close. It depends what they can do for the last 6 weeks or whatever's left. But they're looking pretty good now. So you've got to have some faith. And if not this year, I think next year you'll be fully entrenched in the finals.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I know that several of Swans Nation are looking. There's a couple of academy kids that, how does the free agency period go? Do they try to stock up on points because they've got another Ben King sitting there as one of the full forwards, and then there's a midfielder, McLaughlin or something to that effect, that I know that a lot of the Swans uppers are quite high on. So I would agree, if they can stay healthy, that'll be the biggest thing on that one.
Yeah, okay. What's one thing you think the Swans are doing really well this year, and maybe one thing that they're not doing well to have the drop-off? Or let's start with the drop-off then, because maybe that's more topical. Why aren't the Swans as good as they were last year?
I think you hate making excuses, but the coaching change, the positional changes that started the year kind of put us on the back foot. Tommy McCartan is a fullback. I think it's just plain and simply the argument. I know David King harped on it for at least 2 or 3 weeks. I understood it in the preseason because it worked, but as they got into the regular season, there just wasn't the supply, or Tommy wasn't kicking straight. I mean, eventually you just kind of have to go, well, the kid was playing fantastic down back. Why are we messing? Why fix something that isn't broken? And then as soon as we put him back and McLean's a little bit healthy, the defense starts to play a little bit better. So it's kind of been one of those where it's like, I think change for change's sake, I think might have put us behind the 8 ball a little bit. And then, like I said, you lose Errol Goulden to a fractured ankle in the last preseason game against Gold Coast. Pretty much missed him for the first 14 rounds of the season. Youth and inconsistency, a lack of kind of awareness at times. There were many breakdowns offensively, defensively. I mean, every part of the ground had something, whether it was can't kick goals, crap at contested footy, or defensively they couldn't stop a water leak with the guide and everything like that. So it's been frustrating. You're starting to kind of see things kind of level out. Again, the addition Goulden coming back. I think the consistency of Tommy McCartan in the back really has helped. We'll have to see, does Tommy play in this next game after the whack that he took in the last game? And unfortunately, I will not be surprised if he's out due to concussion, because he went down and he didn't move for about 10 seconds. And that's always concerning with his
okay, I didn't know concussion. That. I didn't see that happen.
Yeah, it was that Heath Moore, the new youngin that St. Kilda brought in. McCartan goes for the footy, and it was just one of those. It was a hard swipe, caught him right on the cheek, split him open. But when he landed, he kind of laid flat and stayed still for a good probably 5 seconds. Which, as somebody that has had concussion issues, I mean, we all know his brother's vaunted concussion issues. That unfortunately, I agree that the Swans kind of, I don't even think they really let him go through the HIA. You could see Dean Cox goes down, talks to him a little bit, pats him on the back, and next thing you know, it's on the broadcast, he's done for the day, which is terrifying for a Swans fan, but the best thing is for his health. So,
well, luckily you're coming up against North Melbourne, mate, who you could probably win without half your team in at the moment, to be honest, because we played the Demons and last weekend, and not the best showing. I think I've been a pretty positive North fan over the last even month, where we've slightly dropped off a little bit. The Hawthorn game for me was a bit of an outlier, and I wasn't taking that one too seriously. The Dogs was fantastic effort, in it for 3 quarters and fell short. But, I was at the MCG, on Sunday, and it was one of the most flat performances I've seen. Now, similar to what you pointed out before, where, the amount of injuries we're starting to stack up and concussions is getting a little bit severe for us and such a shallow team when we're still rebuilding. Hopefully a lot of those guys like McDonald's and Larkies and LDUs and Wardlaws can come back in for this game. I think we might see some big ins, but even though I still don't maybe think that's going to get us in a position to win the game. But, what have the Swans changed in the last few weeks to start being more competitive? Because I want to try and that's going to lead on to questions about North Melbourne and what we're doing and see how we might be able to counteract this. But what's something the Swans are doing well right now?
It's really hard to break it down, because I think if you really look at it, Goulden's addition has brought very well needed leadership. And I think that's the thing that I think has been on-field leadership, I think has been something that's been a little bit lacking. There's been concentration lapse and mistakes. I think Brody Grundy kind of finding the old form of Collingwood Brody Grundy, I think has really helped too, because I think the Swans were an absolute crap contested footy team, and now all of a sudden they're absolutely smashing teams in contested footy and through the clearance. So I really don't know if it's a specific thing. I just kind of think that they're a little bit healthier. They've got a little bit more continuity, and some of the younger players that were playing earlier in the season are back in the VFL, and they're doing quite well. Jake Lloyd comes back from a week cast off down in the VFL and has played really well at that kind of half forward spot. So I don't think it's anything specifically. I think there's been maturity in the roster and some leadership that was lacking earlier in the year, which I think led to a lot of the inconsistency issues that you saw with the Swans earlier in the year.
Yeah, and I think people underestimate, maybe, even though Dean Cox has been there for a long time, there is going to be changes to a game plan. And I think a lot of fans sometimes feel like a coach can come in, if it is a promotion within the club or a new coach entirely. I think people underestimate how long it can take to make a game plan, build it, and be able to execute it week in, week out. And that's something I've been talking about with Clarkson for a while, where, he always points out that this is the first year he feels confident we've got a list that can build a game plan around. And if this is year one of building that game plan, then it's going to take at least a couple of seasons to be able to absolutely nail it. And that's why even though I am very disappointed with how we played on Sunday, I still think the process is there. The improvement is there. It's just not going to be as fast as everybody would ideally like. So that being said, how much of North have you watched this year, and especially recently? Give me a little rundown on your opinions on them.
I absolutely love the list. I'm just very, very frustrated that I'm not seeing more the proverbial green shoots as much as I thought I would. Like, loving Colby McKercher. Maybe it's I'm keeping track of him more because I have him on my fantasy team and he's starting to play really, really well.
He's a superstar, mate.
Absolutely love him to death. Larkey is always the most dangerous forward for you, because he's so, like, even when he doesn't get a ton of delivery, he still delivers. Like, he's one of those, he can get 6 touches and kick 4 goals. That's just how good he can be. So he's a looming in with potentially no McCartan is a little scary for me personally. The biggest question will be is Brody Grundy going up against Christian Ziri or not? That'll be the
I don't think he is, mate. I think Zeri's going to be,
and that's what I'm worried
weeks,
about too. Like, I think that really hurts, because then you go up against an informed Brody Grundy with the midfield playing the way it is. I love North. Again, I keep track of them just purely on the fact that I've had such a great communication with you and with Marnie Cohen and Kenga TV. So I actively watch the Kengas as much as I can. Loving what Luke Parker's doing. Luke Parker is doing what Luke Parker does. Again, I hated to see him go, but I'm happy that he's found a place that's done well. I think Costanti has come in. He's had a few off nights, but occasionally he's done pretty well. Dylan Stevens, another former Swan that I've kept track of, has kind of figured himself out on the wing at North Melbourne. It's been fantastic.
Toby Pink as well, ex-Swan.
Yep. Toby Pink. He was the next one in the back of my head. He's kind of found his niche on that fullback line, which is fantastic for him. No, I like the Kangas. I like what Clarko is building. I'm one of those. I kind of sense the frustration that people are like, this is his third year. I know. Has every year been perfect? Has every year been, he's been in the coach's box every single game? No. So there's been a little bit of interruptions to the whole thing, but I'm liking what you're doing. You provide a dangerous side when you guys click. The problem, I think, and even you'll agree with, they haven't clicked many times yet. And I think that's the frustration that I kind of sense from the people that I talk to that are very north central is that I think when you click, watch out. This North team's going to be fun to watch, but they're just not consistently clicking the way I think they want to.
Yeah. And we'll click for moments in games as well. Have a half or even 3/4 in what we've seen this year where, the D's game was very, very scrappy. And I wouldn't say we clicked it all, but we were right in that game until 3/4 time. And then once again, outrun the Dogs was the same. We were right in the game, about the same margin at 3/4 time. It goes along and along like that. So the other interesting thing will be, I reckon our ruckman against Grundy will be Callum Coleman-Jones, who hasn't played a game in a year and a half coming off an Achilles injury. So, I feel sorry for Callum. That's how he's going to be introduced back into the team. I can't imagine Bryn Teakle will get a run, even though I really like Bryn Teakle, but I've sort of come to the fact that he's not going to play again for North Melbourne, even though I think that's wrong. And other than that, we really don't have, Taylor Goad is a young ruckman for us, but he's incredibly raw, showing a lot of potential of a first round pick and very Luke Jackson-esque, but definitely isn't ready to go up against someone like Grundy. So it's going to be Callum Coleman-Jones. And that's very, very scary. The one thing I pointed out on the podcast that I did, we've put out to post that game, was I do think the ruckman is probably the easiest position to counteract for potentially. And it's not trying to disrespect that position at all. And we love Sherry and what he does. But I think if there's if one of your main players in the ruck, I know there's only one ruck move, you know what I mean? Ruck, forward, mid, back goes down. Yep. I think you can cover the ruckman as well as you can anybody else in the field. Would you sort of agree with that? And how do you feel about that? Are you sensing some Grundy dominance here, or?
I would anticipate it. But then again, though, I'm 100% with you, because if you go back and look at the grand final, and I know for Swans fans, this is opening a very huge wound, but I'm not afraid to say it. Was anybody expecting Darcy Ford to at least neutralize Brodie Grundy last year in the grand final and at least make that game competitive? Absolutely not. You look at it, was Darcy Cameron the great ruckman that he is now when they won the premiership a couple of years ago? You do not need a superstar ruckman to win games of footy present day. I think that's just kind of the one thing. Like, I can 100% agree with you. You can kind of make up with it. You can set your structure defensively in the midfield to the point where you're going to lose the ruck taps, but you're at least going to make it competitive to where it's contested. It's not just tap down straight through the front of the contest and straight into the inside 50 for an offensive chance on goal. Most teams are good enough defensively that they can kind of take away an uncontested ruck tap. Will it happen occasionally? Absolutely. Is that the one thing I would be terrified as a North fan, that if Coleman-Jones does come in, Grundy is tapping it to Heaney and Warner all day long? Yes, I completely sense that. But it is something that what you could do is shift two of your midfielders to a defensive side, force Grundy to tap it backwards, and then hope that your half forwards and your wingers can push in to the point where you can kind of neutralize it coming straight out, which then kind of makes it, again, it goes to, okay, well, we just got to kind of get away with through the grounds. You could have Jack Darling take your forward half ones. That way Coleman Jones can stay in the middle of the field, saving a little bit of energy. So there's different tactics that you could probably do to neutralize it. So yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think as daunting as it may seem, I think Clarko could probably come up with a couple ideas to try to even it out as much as possible to kind of take away a massive advantage the Swans might have with an informed Brody Grundy.
Yeah, and look, it does depend on our midfield ins as well. I mean, I expect LDU to come back. Wardlaw, I think, will come back from all word. I know a lot of people are talking about shutting him down for the season. I think that's a slight overreaction. I know we're trying to be over cautious, but I do think there's a difference between getting a slight concussion when you get knocked to the head and don't really realize you've got it compared to getting fully knocked out, almost like a Joe Simpkin did a few years ago. So, you know, I'm not as worried about Wardlaw as maybe some other people are. I understand the concern, but, you know, all the word from Clarkson, that's our best source and our most trusted source, is that he's probably going to come back because he's had a couple of weeks off. So those two guys coming into the midfield will help us a lot. I don't know if you saw much of the game against the Demons, but it was one of the most flat, one-paced midfield performances I've ever seen. And I'm disappointed in guys like Simpkin and I love Luke Parker, but he maybe didn't step up as much as I thought he possibly could have in that game. Tom Powell is a player that, you know, has a lot of intrigue on this podcast, but he didn't do that either. Even Harry Sheezel, I was like, well, it's time for you to be the number one mid too. Someone's got to be the guy to step up, and no one really did, and we really got nullified out of the middle.
Yeah, I think with Luke Parker, I think it's one of the other reasons why the Swans let him move on. Again, like I said, many of the Swans fans never wanted to see him leave, but I think unless he's put in that Libba role where he's kind of the get the footy, get it to a faster person, you don't know how effective he's really going to be. Or you kind of shift him as that he'll pitch hit in the midfield, but you kind of want him running around that the half forward flank or center half forward position, because he is a pretty accurate kick on goal. He does have some good forward craft and body size. So he is one of those where you can maybe chuck him into the middle occasionally, but being a full-time center midfield, not sure if his body is up to it or if he's got the pace that present day midfields have.
He
so I'm
looked
100% with you. Yeah. Unfortunately, a long season, again, getting up there in age wouldn't shock me if he's a little bit sore. Hoping that it's only that he doesn't have another off week like he did a couple of weeks ago, but you never know. Maybe the soreness has come back. We'll have to see how that goes. I find it interesting that you said one pace when you're facing a midfield of Melbourne, which for the longest time was one paced with Oliver and Petrarca. Now they've spiced it a little bit this year. They've thrown Rivers in there. They've thrown Keziah Pickett, which I think is a little bit of a curveball for them, but it's a little bit frustrating with guys that you do have there. You have Zane Dersma, who I think they dropped him for this particular game, didn't they?
Yeah, but he's been very, very underwhelming, let's say. I don't think he's anywhere near the team. And, you know, there's two sides. There's a group of North fans right now who'd be happy to see him move on and maybe use him as – and there's never a trade in the AFL anymore. So it's all just free agency. So I don't know why we bother about saying we should potentially trade him. But
there's trade, but it's never – you never really full on get the value of what you're
No, you never see a Zane Dersma and comes back for this big name, and it's not that sort of thing. Or there's the side of fans saying stick with him, even though I feel like he's in a position in the ground that we've probably got covered for the next 5-6 plus years with Curtis and Zerha. So it's an interesting one. I don't know with the midfield, mate. I'm worried about your midfield. I mean, your midfield is very, very scary when they are on. And I guess the back line, if there's no McCartan down there, I could see us taking advantage. And the forward line has its days for you guys. But the Swans as a unit, I still don't see how we can get over the top of that.
For me, what would be scary is matchups, because I'm trying to sit here and go, okay, well, so no McCartan, most likely that means McLean will go to Larkey. That will be your matchup there. The question then will be is Paul Curtis, who goes to Paul Curtis? Do you see a Harry Cunningham go to him, since usually Harry Cunningham tends to take the strongest or the best?
Well, there's Zerha as well.
Well, and that's where I'm kind of thinking that maybe Cunningham goes to him and they stick Wicks on Curtis, just because Wicks has also been another one that's been really good at shutting some small forwards down. That way you don't have to use Nick Blakey in that kind of stomper defensive role. You can keep him as that halfback flanking runner, which I think when he is on can be scary and also terrifying as a Swans fan, because I've heard many a teammate say, we don't know what the heck he's going to do when he has the ball in hand. And then you have Mini Lizard and Riley Bice, who has come off the bench a couple of times, who's kind of the same thing. He gets running and you don't really know what he's going to do until he does it. And then you just kind of have to react. So, North's forward line scares me a little bit. Like I said, no McCartan. The McLean, I don't think Melican has done bad when he's had to be the one defender down back. I think the defense has actually played well over the last couple of weeks. No Dane Rampy scares me a little bit, considering he's still fighting with a calf strain. So it is going to be that if North can get supply, I think they can do some damage. It's the question is that can they get it out of the midfield where, as you say, there's a ton of headaches. What do you do with Warner? What do you do with Heaney? Rowbottom gets the footy and out. Does James Jordan tag somebody? That's the other question. Like for you, like who would you say as a North fan that Sydney fans should maybe expect be the tagger? Would it be a Harry Sheasel, or would you maybe even see a Jordan go to the defensive side and try to tag Colby McKercher because he's been making such an impact for your team?
Yeah, well, for me, it's Colby. I mean, Colby's right now our best player. For me, I'm massively high on this guy. I've said a few times I think he's got the highest ceiling at the club. And I think in this last 6 weeks and for the rest of the season, hopefully the rest of his career, he really, really shows that. And that's a fantastic compliment for him because, Sheasels and Wardlaws and guys like that I really respect and think they're going to be incredible players as well. But I mean, it's got to be McKercher or LDU. I mean, LDU coming back, that's the, I don't think he's been maybe tag worthy this year, even though I think he's been a lot better than maybe some people are saying he has been. But I mean, if you really want to nullify any drive that North's got, it's got to be Colby McKercher because he's a superstar and I love that guy.
Through the center, they could deploy Rowbottom as a defensive midfielder. So I think that's probably what I think they probably do. Because I think Jordan kind of does really, really well on those halfback flankers, the runners. He blanked Lockie Whitfield for the most part. Sinclair and Naziah Wangady Miller gave him a few headaches in this game against St. Kilda. But he blanked Jordan Clark for the most part in that Fremantle game. So personally, if you ask me, I think James Jordan goes to Colby McKercher, and I think they deploy Rowbottom if LDU is healthy and playing. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a defensive role via James Rowbottom on LDU, which wouldn't surprise me. So.
Yeah. I mean, the other interesting thing is our strength in the contest is getting the ball forward. It's not clean. It's not pretty. It's win the ball in the contest and hack that thing forward. And at the SCG, when it's so small, I feel like if we can get it quickly out of the middle, deep into our forward line, Curtis, Serha and Larkies can really take advantage. I mean, Darling's coming off his best game for the club, probably 3 goals, protects the space of the ball really well and takes some great marks. So I really do think we could take advantage in that way. I just think around the ground in the transition and with the Swans ball movement, that seems to undo us. It was the same against the Bulldogs, So that's maybe the part I worry about. Let's go to a bit of a prediction about this game.
Sure.
Who's going to win? And give me a scoreline.
I'm one of those that because I keep track of North a lot more, I know there's some Swans fans that are going to be like, this is the easy beat. This is the percentage booster. This is the terrifying one because the Swans are notorious.
I'm also terrified.
Well, no, these games are notorious for me. It's like the Gold Coast Suns a few years ago. Like I swear sometimes the Swans in games like this where it's supposed to be a percentage booster, these are the ones the Swans trip over their feet for 90% of the game and keep North Melbourne in it till midway through the fourth quarter, and then a little bit like the Doggies matchup. You're in it for 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, a little bit of the class of the Doggies kind of takes over, and that's kind of what the score really wasn't indicative of the way the game was. For most of the game, it was a 3-goal game, if you're really 100% honest watching it. I think that's what we're kind of looking at here. But even still, I'm still a little terrified just because of the matchup. So I think this is 2 goals or less. I think Swans win it because I agree with you. I think the midfield is going to be a pain in the tail. And if there is no Tristan Xerri, that is a nightmare. So I would not be surprised to see Clarko maybe trying to sit one behind the ball a little bit more just to kind of help out the defense because it could be coming in a lot. But can you get the rebound? Can you get the rebounds? If missed kicks or intercept marks, can you get the rebounds and push up forward? Because I think you have some advantages you can capitalize that North can do with maybe a wavering defense. Does Aaron Francis move back for the Swans? Then I think who does he take? Does he take Larkey or does he take Darling? Because whoever gets Francis, that's an advantage for North. Personally, I think this is a 2-goal game. I think the Swans win it, but I think they survive it more than they win it, because this terrifies me with a couple of the outs that we have. And if you do get LDU and some of the very big ins you could have, I think it's close. I think Swans win it because of the class, but I think this is a lot closer than some people are thinking.
Okay, well, I'm going to go very different. I think we lose by 5 to 6 goals. I think, and that might be at minimum, to be honest. I honestly think, and I said this on the pod we reviewed the D's game. Bunk in for the next couple of weeks, North fans, because if we're putting up performances like we have the last 3 weeks, then it's going to be some very, very long weeks. And if Sherry's out for 3 weeks, like we predict he will be, he misses the St Kilda game as well, which is very winnable for us. So disappointing, and it might be a bit of a limp to the finish line for North Melbourne, even though I do think we've improved a lot. But yeah, look, realistically, I think maybe around the 6-goal mark for us. I'd love to be proven wrong, and you know, like we sort of discussed, if the midfield can counteract the lack of Sherry and actually win the football and get it forward quickly, I think we might be able to do something in this game. But will we be able to do that? And the Swans play the ground so well, and you know, unless it's out of a centre clearance and a stoppage like that, I don't see us being able to handle the ball and move the ball anywhere near as cleanly as the Swans. So I think that over 4 quarters that will show its head, and I do think we lose by 5 to 6 goals, let's just say.
You're pulling to me on my podcast. I know I've had a couple of my co-hosts that have been like, Swans are going to win, and I tip against them only because I will do it all the time. I am very, very much one of those. Like I said, I tell a lot of people that I tip with a no lose situation, because if I get the tip right, I get the tip right. If I get the tip wrong, my team wins. So it's kind of a no lose situation. But I'm a little pessimistic because I see some of the dangers that this North team has, and you see the pessimism you see the scariness of a Swans team that can on its day put up points big, especially when you've got midfielders like Isaac Keeney, Errol Gould, and Chad Warner, who on their day can go absolutely bonkers and go for 5. So I 100% agree with you. I just see a few deficiencies in some places that I think if North can get it there, they can capitalize on it. And I think they keep it closer, but it's going to be a fun one. I cannot wait. It's always fun playing North because it's always a scrappy ball club. I'm hoping the SCG is better than it was even against Fremantle. That's the other thing that I look at. And I know that a ton of people after that debacle that was a few weeks ago against the Doggies, that I'm hoping that another week of settling, that maybe that the ground will be not so much an ice skating rink on that left side of the field when it comes to looking from the TV angle.
Well, look, North Melbourne would fall over even if they had spikes on their boots, mate, to be honest. So that makes me think maybe it's going to be even more than the 5 to 6 goal loss. But hey, my last question for you is going to be, how many Swans/North players who have played for both clubs can we name off the top of our heads? I haven't done any research on this, and I want to see how many we can name. You go first, because I've got a few names in my head.
Just present day or all together?
Just as all time, as many as you can name. I've got a few in my head, and I want to know if you can name some. But if you're struggling, I'm happy to hit you with a few.
Do we count coaches?
Whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll start. I'll take the obvious one. I'll take Luke Parker.
Yep. Luke Parker. I mean, Dylan. There's Dylan Stevens as well. We can get the obvious. Yep. We can get your Stevens, your Pinks.
And you can we'll get those out of the way.
Now it gets more fun.
Your former coach, Shaw, was a former player at the Swans, and he coached North Melbourne. There. So that's, if that counts, if the coaching counts, then I got you.
A bit of an asterisk on that one, but I'll count it.
I'll leave it up to you. It's your rules.
Well, I'm not going to adjudicate this like the umpires do the AFL, to be honest. It's a bit more loose, I would say. Ryan Clark as well. Ryan Clark, who played for the Swans for a bit, is Ryan Clark. There is Shannon Grant. Back in the day, came across from the Swans, played for the Swans in the 96 grand final, and then won the Norm Smith for North in the 99 grand final for us. Well, I think Wayne Schwass was the trade in that one as well. Just
thought of another one. It's the coaching switch. John Horst Longmire was the switch because he played for North.
There's another one.
And then coached the Swans. There's another one there.
There's another one. I had another one in my head, and I feel like I've forgotten this. Shannon Grant, Wayne Schwass, Ryan Clark.
Mhm.
Oh, can we go any deeper than this? Anyone listening on YouTube, put them below, because I've probably forgotten someone massive like I do every single week, but it's way more fun to do off the top of my head.
Yeah, I could probably Google it, but it would kind of take away all the fun. So,
Well, yeah. Well, if you want to Google it and see, feel free. Everyone's gonna put your comments in now before we get these answers. So pause the video, put your comments down before Dottie reveals everything here. But there was one more that I had in my head, and I've completely forgot it now. I feel stupid, but hey, there's been a lot of back and forth between the Swans and North with trades and coaches when you all put it like that.
yeah, it's interesting. I'll be interesting. Another one. Paul Roos.
Oh yeah,
Paul
okay.
Roos played for
Roos,
both.
yeah.
Yep. Notable example: Wayne Schwass, as you said, Shannon Grant, Paul Roos, Luke Parker. Additionally, Ryan Clark is a recent player. And that is it as far as AI mode. So then I think we exhausted all of them.
Well, look, if we've forgotten it, I'm sure there's got to be some sort of real rogue shout out there that we don't know of. If you're smarter than AI, put your answers down below and subscribe while you're there, please, because it helps me out a lot. Well, look, we can leave it there, Donnie, because we want to keep this within about half an hour. But I think we did pretty well there. I think we maybe just nailed every single thing that happened between the Swans and North Melbourne before someone tells me the greatest player North Melbourne's ever had. And I'm like, oh, yeah, because I forgot Sean Higgins a few weeks ago when we did this for the Bulldogs. And I named Sam Power and Jade Rawlings before I named Sean Higgins, which was very embarrassing.
I just think it's interesting that AI doesn't have Castante in there. So, but it's probably because he was on the Swans list but never actually played. And then the two that we thought of, the two coaching connections are not something. Since I specifically put players, I mean, I could probably put coaches in there, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've typed this into like ChatGPT before, and it is the worst, man. They tried to tell me that Martin Pike played between North Melbourne and the Bulldogs, and then I got him for Melbourne as well. I don't really know if I trusted fully, to be honest. It throws me astray. So we can tie it up there, and I think that's a good end of the show. And then we can check the comments and be very embarrassed with what we've forgotten.
I'll be fascinated. I will definitely keep an eye on that. I'll be interested to see if somebody comes up with some obscure ones.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you for jumping on again, mate. And look, Donnie's got his own pod that covers the league as well. Do you want to give that a bit of a shout out before we finish up?
Yeah, absolutely. It is Donnie's disposals on YouTube and most podcast platforms. I cover the AFL, I cover the AFLW, and then I also cover the state leagues, where I do about once a monthly, roughly, reviews of play between both the women's and men's competitions for both of those. And then during the off season, I have fan chats, where I call my off season supporter series, where I sit and talk with footy fans here in the States, in Australia, and internationally when I can find them, just to kind of keep the footy going during those long winter months for me, the summer months for you guys down in Australia, to kind of keep footy alive between pretty much January and February till March, and we get the AFL competition pops back up again. So.
Fantastic stuff, mate. Thank you for coming on, and we'll send some messages after the game. One of us will be happy, one of us will be sad. I think I know which way it's going to be.
Either way it'll be respectful, because again, I adore the North. I adore the North Melbourne Footy Club. My one of our first coaches up here in the Des Moines Roosters was a massive Roos fan, and I told the story, I think the last time we talked, I was this close to being a Roos supporter too. It was Sydney and North Melbourne were the two. Some people in the Roos supporters were probably like, you probably chose better, coach.
Well, yeah, but someone made a good decision, and here I am stuck.
Hey, I respect the grind that you do, sir. I respect the grind that you do, because it's never easy to support a team that has not had the best of luck. Trust me, my NHL team has not seen the playoffs in 15 years. So I know your pain, sir. I know your pain.
Thank you for coming on, mate. We'll chat soon.
Cheers.
Thank you so much to Donnie for jumping on. He is over in the States, and the commitment to the AFL is absolutely unreal. So thank you to him. That was a great chat and a good insight on the Swans for us. Now, let's get into live team reaction. We'll get into some news and stuff afterwards, but I'm so interested this week. Sherry is out. I've made a few videos about this through the week. Very mixed reaction to what North did. Like, I think it was a complete waste of time to challenge that, because I think we all know, even though I don't think it's a suspension at all and shouldn't be, we've had more than enough evidence to know that that was always going to be a suspension. I understand the point of view that it's good the club stood up for them. But realistically, you lose like 10K and the league's not going to change. And just because you stuck up for your player, I don't know. I don't know if I feel that way about it, but I completely understand the fans that do. So I think that was a bit silly to challenge it. I guess it doesn't. If the 10K is whatever to North, then cool. Someone's bank account's doing all right. And he's out for 3 weeks, is what it is. I put out a poll. I haven't actually checked it yet, to be honest. I'm going to check it out right now. I put out a poll saying, who do you want to be our ruckman? Okay. And the results are interesting. CCJ, 50%, Teakle, 28%, Goad, 22%. A lot more normal than I thought that would be. I said, not what you want, who should be the ruckman, so who should be our ruckman. A lot of people in the DMs talking about Goad and stuff. Goad is a little bit away. I would love to see Goad, but I think he would get absolutely cooked. So it's good to see us North fans are smart, with half of the voters saying CCJ, which I think is the most likely outcome. How many people voted? Does it tell me here? Let's have a look. My bad. I should have looked at this before. 280, 350 odd people voted. So a decent sample size. And I would agree with that. CCJ's got to come in. Right, it's not playing for 18 months at AFL level and then coming in to face a hot Grundy is going to be a big challenge for him. I wonder if there's going to be any more changes. LDU is going to come in, and I think Wardlaw will come in. So who are the two that are going to go out? I guess from last game, Phillips is probably the one that comes out. Do you drop like a Robert Hansen Jr. potentially? He's sort of been there. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of change. Let me know in the comments. And for those watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Thank you so much. Subscribing helps me so much. Like the video, comment, all that stuff. It's all free and it all helps me. It's the best way to support the show. Let me know down below. Do you subscribe to the theory? And I do to a degree. These next couple of games are complete write-offs for North. We need to focus on the Saints because that's winnable. Let's not get any more injuries. Let's rest players as much as we can and get them ready for the Saints game. I don't think we're a shot in hell of beating the Swans, and I reckon we're going to get destroyed by the Cats. With the injuries we've got, that is sort of how it is, right? But other people look at it like, no, you've got to go into every game expecting to win. And I agree that's the right mentality, but I don't hate an element of realism where let's try some things. Let's throw in some players, some younger players we haven't seen. Cooper Harvey was fantastic last week, so let's continue him going. Do we give, a bench, or do we give a Trembath, or, bring Whitlock back in to try something? I sort of would like to experiment a bit, rest some of the guys and make sure everyone's 100% healthy for the Saints game. That is my mentality. That being said, I understand if people don't see eye to eye on that. Let's have a look at the team. I don't really know what to expect with this one, but I feel with Clarko, it's probably not going to be that exciting. But hey, let's have a look. Live team reaction, 3, 2, 1. Oh, Teakle. Okay. In LDU, no Wardlaw. So interesting. Okay. LDU, makes sense. Coleman Jones, makes sense. Bryn Teakle is in. And Zach Banch. Debut for Zach Banch. Unbelievable. Okay, I'm so excited. Joel is going to be so excited. Joel is not going to be excited that Finbar is out. Lovely. Finbar out, Sherry out, Bailey Scott and Robert Hansen Jr. And we are playing on Saturday, so that is the final squad as well. Now, Bryn Teakle named to the bench, CCJ. So, interestingly enough, I'm jumping around a bit here. Will Dawson has been named in the forward line, but I'm not trusting that. But Comben Pink Logue down back. Are we going to go tall, Dawson, Darling, and Teakle? It's smart from Clarko to bring in CCJ and Teakle because CCJ is not going to come straight out of the, injury ward and ruck a full game. So I understand that, but my God, we're going in tall here. That is outrageous. Okay. Logue, Pink, Comben at the back. Dawson, Darling named forward with Coleman Jones in the ruck and Bryn Teakle on the bench. Let's go through these names one by one. LDU makes a lot of sense. Always going to come back. Fantastic stuff. Why isn't Wardlaw there? Interesting. Only speculation. Clarkson in his press conference said he's right to go. So maybe they're just giving him another week. I heard a rumor that he's going to play twos. So maybe he's going to come back through the twos. We'll see. I don't know if he's been named in the two squad. If anyone knows that, please put that below and let me know. Callum Common-Jones makes a lot of sense. We know why that one is there. Bryn Teakle, we sort of justified. Maybe they get like CCJ 60% ruck time, Teakle 40%, and then they can rotate forward. Zach Bench, fantastic. This is so exciting. Zach Bench, Constanti, and Harvey up in that forward line. We've gone very tall and very small with Curtis and Zerha up there. Interesting. Okay. Really excited about Zach Bench. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic stuff. And Will Phillips is still in for his 50th game as well. Interesting. Okay. Tell me what you guys think about Zach Bench as well. That's so exciting. I love Zach Bench. This is Joel's man. Okay. If he bags a couple of goals this weekend, Joel is the best football scout ever, and North Melbourne should employ him. Let's talk about the outs. Finbar. I don't hate that. And I know I'm not the biggest Finbar guy. I don't think he found a way to even attempt to impact the goals last week. I understand he can take a clunk, but I think Teakle has shown he can do that as well, and Common-Jones. I'm so excited Bryn Teakle's in. I'm so excited. I love Bryn Teakle. Bryn Teakle's my guy. Interesting. Okay, sorry. This is the best live team reaction we've had all year, I reckon. This is the craziest live team reaction ever. I don't hate the Finbar thing. I'm still not completely sold on him. I have said for a long time, I'm surprised Teakle hasn't got more opportunity over Finbar. And people always tell me that Teakle isn't playing well in the twos. I think he started well and then dropped off, but I love that he's getting a game. Finbar isn't great in the ruck. And when he doesn't find a way to impact the goals, I don't know. I'm not completely sold on Finbar. I want to be sold. I love the mustache. The name is unreal. And his marking ability is very exciting. I'm not 100% sold. So apologies. Sherry obviously going out. Bailey Scott, yeah, fair. I think his time is done at North, to be honest. I don't know if he's out of contract or not. I think he might be because he signed 2 years, didn't he? So maybe he's a free agent. And Robert Hansen, yeah, I can sort of understand those two. Scott and Hansen makes a lot of sense. Not bad changes. Now, I don't think it makes us a chance to win the game, but this is the thing the next couple of weeks we have to do when we watch North Melbourne. Let's watch Bench. Let's watch CCJ. Let's watch Teakle. Let's watch Harvey do what we hope they can do. Let's watch them try and win spots in this team. Colby's on fire. Let's watch him just be the greatest player to ever play in the AFL. You know, I mean, look, spoiler alert, we'll talk about after. Luke McDonald's out for the season, so can Hardiman really get a more lockdown role? Maybe that's why Logue is still in, and we're going with Dawson in the forward line, even though I'll wait and see, because last time we played the Swans, we had four key defenders in the back line anyway. Watch the young players become stars in this, because we're not going to win this game. And if I'm wrong, I hope everyone laughs at me on social media, and I will be so happy if I'm wrong. But we're probably not winning this one. Let's watch the young guys become guns. Let's watch them see what Banch has got, you know, and see if CCJ has something left to give at the club. Will Teakle get another contract or not? I didn't think he was going to, but the fact he's playing, maybe. Dersma's an emergency too, but bit flat on Dersma at the moment. For the Swans, I mean, Tom McCartan is out. That's an interesting one. And Aaron Francis is out for Dane Rampy and Peter Ladhams. Never heard of that guy in my life. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're very short in the back line. I mean, Melican, and other than that, there's not really any key defenders there of note, unless I'm missing someone. But there's not really much there, to be honest. And their forward line, it's never scary, is it? But their midfield is very, very good, and their team chemistry is very, very good. And that's what will be the thing that probably puts us down. But, I mean, who's in their forward line at the moment? I like Will Hayward. I think he's a really good player. I know people maybe don't rate him as much as I do, but, yeah. I mean, there's no Amadi either. Amadi's not in. What's the other forward's name? The one we were going to get, McDonald. He's not in. He's barely played all year. So Hayward, McLean. Man, if we had a full squad, there'd be a part of me that thinks we're a small sniff. We're a small sniff, but maybe not. All right. Well, that was the most exciting live team reaction we've had for a long time. Let me know what you guys think of that team lineup down below. Let me know the ins and outs and what you're excited for. Do you agree with Finbar, Scott, and all the other outs that were there, Robert Hanson Jr.? And do you like the ins? What do you think about the Teakle and CCJ thing? I want to know what you guys think. That's awesome. Okay. News. Luke McDonald was out with a shoulder, something wrong with his joint in his shoulder. Apparently they knew he would need surgery at the end of the season, but thought he might be able to play through after the Hawthorn game. But he has been put on ice because he hasn't been able to regain strength in his shoulder. So him and Archer, both our medium-sized defenders out for the year. Hopefully Logue can step up into that role a bit. Hardiman and O'Sullivan hopefully can do that for us as well, because other than that, we are very light. Goda doesn't exist anymore. Bergman isn't there anymore. So wow, we don't have anyone to mark any medium-sized players. And the other bit of news is like links to Jeremy Howe as well. It's probably a no for me. We have plenty of key defenders. I mean, Comben, Will Dawson's been great. Whitlock needs game time. Pink has been really solid this season. Griffin Logue needs to find form. I don't see how possibly we would get that man into the team unless he played forward again or played some weird wing role. It's a no from me for Jeremy Howe. Great player, leader, won premierships. I get that. Doesn't make any sense to bring him into the club other from leadership. And we have Darling, Parker, and Daniel for that. So he's not going to add much more to that. So absolutely not. Another one for you guys. Let me know down below if you want Jeremy Howe. Would you like that? If you're pro Jeremy Howe, let me know why and where he would fit, because I don't really see where he'd fit. Common Dawson long-term for me down there, and hopefully we can get, hopefully Logue fires or, Pink's a hard one because I wish he could play a little bit smaller. We need like that, Josh Gibson-esque type, like Alika Lee. If we can convince him to come down, I think that'd be a really good signing. But anyway, we'll talk about that in the off-season. Tips. Let's get to the tips and we'll get you guys out of here. GWS and Essendon. GWS will win this at Marvel. You'd have to think. Imagine if Essendon won this one. It's 6-3 at this current stage. It's currently 7:49 on Thursday night. But no, GWS. Brisbane and the Western Bulldogs at the Gabba. Brisbane probably win that one. The Bulldogs just don't seem to be good against the top teams, do they? Port and Hawthorn. Hawthorn will win that one. That's a bit of a dead rubber for me. I hate Hawthorn, and Port are just gross. Dislike both of those teams, except for my good friend Aaron Fernando. I love the Hawks for him. If it wasn't for him, I would despise them even more. North Sydney, I'm going to double down. I think we probably go down by 6-7 goals, unfortunately. Carlton, Melbourne. This is an interesting one. I'm going to back the Ds. Obviously, got the better of us last week. Carlton are in awful form, but if it was an upset there, it wouldn't shock me. But I think the Ds. Now, this is the interesting game. Richmond, West Coast. I'm going for West Coast over there. I need West Coast. We need West Coast to win this game. If we're not going to beat the Swans, if Richmond win, they go ahead of us. We go back to 17th on the ladder. We play Richmond again in about a month's time, which I will be at down in Tasmania. If we finish below Richmond, it is so embarrassing because we've been so much better this year. I know there's still many gaps and we haven't been good the last month, and I get that. But, we have been so much better this year. And we cannot finish below Richmond, please, for the love of God. Roos fans should be watching this with a keen eye. West Coast, win. Please win. Richmond have been awful the last 4 or 5 weeks. And West Coast have actually looked semi-competitive. And over there, I'm going to back West Coast to get it done. Geelong St Kilda, Geelong absolutely will make up more than enough for what happened last time. Collingwood will beat Fremantle. Fremantle was the most overrated team in the league. The second they play away from Optus, they are awful. They will be gone first week of the finals. You heard it here first. Adelaide Gold Coast, a good game for Sunday Arvo. I'll back the Crows over there. They feel like they're really hitting some form late in the year as well. So, look, there are my tips. Let's not let it go too long here. Thank you for listening. Please, if you can like, comment, and subscribe, it helps me so much. I would love to get to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube before the end of the year. So if you can help me do that, recommend to your mates, share it around, do whatever, that would genuinely mean the world. It's a free podcast, so much content for you guys. And the best way to support me is doing things for free. So that would help a lot. Instagram, that's where it all goes off. Do polls, interact with you guys as much as I can. I try to get back to all the messages. I am a bit slow, so I apologize. And Facebook as well. We're always very, very active. So thank you for tuning in. We will chat to you guys after the Swans game. Good luck out there, North. We'll see how we go. Talk to you guys soon.